Hey guys. So a couple weeks ago, I went to the Altoona N-Scale Weekend train show. They have it every September in Altoona, PA. I've gone the past couple years, and it's a good show. There's a lot of stuff there at the convention center. A lot of vendors, a lot of people just selling their own collections and stuff they've got. And there's several like hobby shops that have just basically their portable store that they bring to these shows. So there's a lot of stuff. I feel like every year there are less and less good deals. You usually hear like, oh man, there's crazy good deals everywhere. And it just seems like anymore, you're going to pay just as much, if not a little bit more at the show than you are going to, find it online or, go to the hobby shop in person. But you wander around, you find a couple deals here and there. But there's also a lot of clubs that have layouts, modular layouts and stuff, and it's fun to walk around and look at those. And I've shared videos from last year of all the different modular layouts. I took video this year, haven't published it yet. I saw that there were a lot of the same modules there this year than that there were last year, so I'm going to work on those videos, but I'm a little concerned that I might just be showing you the same thing. In which case you could just go look at last year's video. But no, there were some new modules that were pretty neat. I basically just did a walk around video of all of the layouts, and I think if I had to do it over again, like maybe next year, instead of going around the entire layout for every club, I'll probably just focus on the modules that I like the best, because I feel like just doing the walk around, I'm showing you the same thing over and over again. So, plus there are some modules that are really great, and there are some that are like, I'd skip them. No offense, I'm just saying, like, I could probably put together a better video if I just focused on, a quick little tour, like here are the highlights. So yeah, we'll see. I'll go through all my footage and hopefully come up with something decent. But I just wanted to share a little bit of a recap. I'm gonna show you some of the things that I purchased at the show. Picked up a few models. Picked up some scenic materials. Hopefully it's not too boring for you, but you'll see some of these things in upcoming projects. Some of the locomotives, well, all of the locomotives that I purchased are DC, just because that's the most cost-effective way to get things. It seems a lot of times, where just get the DC locomotive and then upgrade it to DCC yourself. And especially at the shows when you're dealing with folks selling used equipment, you kind of have to figure that part of the cost in. Like, is this piece of equipment worth it? Because I'm going to have to put effort into it to make it usable in my environment. And same thing with the rolling stock. I mean, sometimes you can find rolling stock dirt cheap at the shows, but they've all got like junk trucks and couplers on them, and you're gonna have to put you're gonna double the cost by the time you put decent trucks and couplers on it, in which case sometimes you can find good deals on Microtrain's rolling stock, that's just cheaper overall just to get new stuff. That's my biggest frustration with the show. Is just there's so much there, and so much of it is just noise. But it's a great show. I enjoy going, and it takes a lot of time, because you can't just, oh, here's a thing I want, and purchase it. If you're buying it from a hobby shop, there's 3 different hobby shops that all have the same thing there, and if you walk around, you'll find it for 10-20% price difference, at the other side of the floor. So you almost have to do a once over, see what all's there, then go back to the vendors and dealers and buy the things you're looking for. But yeah, if it's a rare find, that's a kind of a gamble, because somebody might have already purchased the thing you were looking for. But no, I had a good time. They had the Fremo N layout there. It seemed to me to be smaller than previous years. But there were some really nice modules there, so hopefully I captured that well in an upcoming video that I'll share. It was a pretty cramped room though, and so it was hard to really maneuver around and get video without interfering with their operations and other people that were looking at stuff. But hopefully, I can give you some decent footage of that. I'll probably cut it down, show you some of my favorite modules. But yeah, there was one on the layout that I think I did a video from last year. I called it N-Track Coal Country or something like that. Go ahead and check out that video from last year. But that club was back, and I just love their layout. And they had a train running. It was pulling, I counted them. Can't remember if it was like 125 cars or something like that. I mean, it's like wrapped around, half or 2/3 of the way around the layout. It was pretty impressive. They can, do that without any issues. So, anyways, I will go ahead and show you what I picked up, and keep an eye out for new videos coming up. Obviously, most of the things I bought are gonna appear in little project videos as I put DCC chips in. There's a locomotive that I'm going to be doing a lot of painting and modifications to. You'll see that, and just other upcoming modules that I'm going to build. I've got some scenic materials. You'll see those come up as well. And like I said, I don't know how these guys do it. They come home from the show and by the next day they've already got their video up. I have just way too much other things to do. So sorry about that, but you will see some videos hopefully of the modular layouts at the show as well. Before the buzz dies down too much from the show being a couple weeks ago. But stick around. So last year I bought this heavy Mikado off of a guy. It's DC, but I have pretty good hopes that I'll be able to convert it to DCC fairly easily. And he said it ran great, but I never tested it. And so it was like the day before the train show. I thought, I've never tested this thing. So I threw it on the tracks, and it does. It runs great. It's Mikado. I'm gonna, repaint it to be a Penske locomotive, but I show you that because this year at the train show I found another one same exact model, except this one's unlettered, so I will mark that up the same way and get them both converted to DCC, and they both run great. So I was pretty happy to find that. It was I paid the guy the same amount as I did the other guy last year, so that was a good find. Also picked up some random rolling stock. I saw a lot of Chessie system rolling stock rolling around when I was a kid, so when I saw this box car, I figured I'd grab it. It was a decent price. These guys here, they were in decent shape. They looked good, and they were cheap, so could always use more rolling stock. I'm 3D printing stuff now, but if I see a good deal, I'll grab them. And I also picked up a couple Pennsylvania hoppers that run pretty good as well. They're older, but the person selling them had already upgraded the trucks and couplers, so thought that was a good deal. Actually scored this Atlas Conrail locomotive right as the show was wrapping up. Everybody was packing up their stuff. I'd seen a couple Conrail locomotives around on the show floor throughout the day, and I thought, the area that I'm modeling was a former Conrail line that actually went, was abandoned by Conrail. And since I'm modeling it as if it had stayed in service, or actually I might rewrite history to say that Conrail abandoned it and then they, Norfolk Southern reopened it, as it does interchange with the Norfolk Southern Main. But I thought it would be kind of fun to have a Conrail locomotive, and I'll heavily weather it and rust it up a bit, and kind of paint over the number under the windows. I'll put a black patch to cover that up, and put an S and a number, similar to what I've seen with some railroads that use old equipment from defunct lines, or they purchase old locomotives and they don't bother repainting the whole body, but they just kind of blank out the old railroad name, and maybe stencil in a their own name. I'll post a couple pictures and things while I'm talking here, but I thought I'd kind of do that. So this will be a little project. I'll upgrade it to DCC, and see if I can make it look like an old Conrail that's all beat up and rusty, but Norfolk Southern just kind of painted over it just to use it for a local or for yard work. So we'll see. I'll see how that turns out. I'll show you guys whenever it's done. I also found a lady selling these microtrains trucks with couplers for a pretty decent deal. I mean, comparatively to what they are list nowadays. Anyways, I've never believed these to be a good deal, but as I 3D print rolling stock, this is really the biggest expense of doing that, is putting the trucks and couplers on. So this will get me stocked up for the next, once I get my 3D printer working again and get some more cars churning out, I'll have some wheels. Also picked up a few scenery materials from one of the dealers. Got a couple different shades of static grass, got some blended turf, and got some coarse turf. So, once I start getting some scenery going on a couple modules that I'm going to be working on, just kind of pick this stuff up when I see it. Also went back in that room where the dealer was and saw they had a pretty decent deal on DZ126s. This is generally what I use when I change a DC locomotive to DCC. Works pretty well. It's simple, doesn't have sound, it's cheap, easy to wire up. It's small. I haven't had any issues with them. Unless I do something wrong. I've let the magic smoke out of a couple, with a short, but, that's on me. That's not in Digitrax. So, I picked up a few of those, and, looking at the stuff I've got here on the table, I'll probably burn up all three of these just with those two heavy Mikados and the Conrail locomotives. So, cheaper than I was getting them online anyways. And I think the last thing I grabbed is these expansion track pieces for Unitrack. The way my track plan is shaping up, I'm going to have a lift out section or something along those lines across the doorway. The room just is not big enough to have a kind of a dog bone sort of layout if I want continuous running. I think things will just work better as a shelf layout, end to end, or point to point, I should say. So if I do want to loop it around for continuous running, I'm going to have to put a little lift out section across the doorway and just make that loop. And so I think I might use these, although I saw a couple videos on YouTube a couple days ago, and they had some really good examples where they were putting track down between modules, and the one guy, he ran some brass screws down into the roadbed, and then actually soldered the bottom of the rails to those screws, and then once everything was fixed in place like that, used the Dremel to cut the rails in between the modules. And that way, as long as the two modules lined up, and it would be the same thing with a lift bridge of some sort to the main layout, as long as everything's in alignment, that track is going to be in place. You don't have to connect it up as long as it's wired. So I might not need these, I don't know. It just seems like it would be good to have a few on hand. I'm also considering filling in the part of my layout that's going to go across where my workbench is, because I've been wanting to play with T-track modules just to practice with scenery, because I'm not to that point yet with my layout. I think there's an opportunity there to put a couple T-track modules across that section, and I've seen where people use these between modules or to connect the main part of the layout to a string of modules. So I figured, they were there, they were available. They only had a couple, so I grabbed them. Well, I almost forgot to mention the custom card that they make each year for the show. CMR puts these out. So I picked one up last year, so I picked up this year's car as well. Thought they did a pretty good job with it. So hope you enjoyed that, and look forward to some more videos from the show as well as other projects I'm working on. See you next time.